Is the INFJ type the most intelligent of all MBTI types? I believe the INFJ could be the most intelligent of all types. First of all, let's just look at the obvious. As you know, they're introverted and they are intuitive. So right away, they're in their head. They're always thinking. Now, they're inside thinking, they're internally thinking, they're processing. That introverted intuition is that abstract function that they have. It's almost like an involuntary function. It's almost like a neuron computer in a way that just keeps going. It just processes, it thinks, it goes. It's even subconscious and involuntary in a lot of ways. It's always just going, whether you know it or not. Now, it's always looking for patterns. But the thing is, it's an irrational function that can't make a decision. So that's why the hereditary function, the TI, the introverted thinking, has to make sense of the whole thing. Okay? So a lot of times they kind of go hand in hand. The processing goes on, the thinking goes on, and then it sends it over to the TI, I should say. And then it says, okay, well, how does this make sense? Does this make sense? And then it kind of sends it back and it kind of narrows things down. It funnels things into a possibility, a future possibility, a future conclusion. So it takes all this big stuff here and it narrows it down, it funnels it down in a way, and it comes up to a conclusion. Now, a lot of that, like I said, sometimes this is involuntary. So they're always in their head thinking, okay? So that's one of the reasons. Now, a lot of times, when we think of intelligence, what do you think? You think somebody like a doctor. You think of a scientist. You think of a lawyer. Somebody with a high degree. When we measure intelligence for the most part, this is how society does think about it. Somebody that has been to college. Somebody that has accumulated a lot of knowledge through studying, through books, through just learning, things like that. Now, not to say that this isn't a form of intelligence, because naturally the ability to absorb and to retain information is highly intelligent. But the thing is that a lot of times this rote knowledge, and some types, no, I'm not saying all types, but a lot of types take this knowledge and they just have it. They store it. They understand it from what they had been taught, well, from what they were indoctrinated into. And this is how their understanding comes to play. Now, you take an introverted intuitive, not necessarily the INFJ, they almost live inside out, while a lot of extroverted sensing types, let's say, live from the outside in. A lot of times, what I'm saying is that a lot of times the sensitive types take the information through their senses. They hear it, they see it, they process it, they learn it. You know, like as it's written on books, they take it, yes, they analyze it, they process it, but maintain what it is for what it was. Okay, they basically just understand it the way it was presented to them. All right? Now, the INFJ, especially with the way their functionings work, okay, they're introverted intuitive, they're introverted thinking, and of course, the judging function, which is basically, it puts things into categories. It puts things into orders and into checks and balances, and it puts things right into a lot of order. And usually it also looks in a future pattern way of putting things in order. So typically what happens is that when an INFJ, let's say the INFJ learns from their senses, from the books that they read, from the education that they know, and from what little pieces that they get of information, from what education, they will take their information not at face value. They're not just going to sit there and understand it for what it was presented to them. They're going to think it over. They're going to process it. They're going to analyze it. They're going to go in depth with what it was. They're going to dissect it into that laboratory of their mind. And they're going to take this information and they're going to make it a deep concept. They're going to understand it deeper than how it was presented. They want to know how it got to that point. They don't want to just say, okay, here it is. They want to see how it got to that point and where it's going to go from that point, if you understand me. So they'll take this information and they'll go deeper. They want to know it and process it deeper. Because again, they live from the inside out. So they're always going to process things that they know. whether they know it or not. This is always going on in their mind. This introverted intuition, as I said, it's a constant running neuroprocessor that just keeps going, almost subconsciously in a way, that's always trying to analyze, always trying to come up with these possibilities. And so basically, that's one of the reasons as to why. Now, are they the smartest type? Listen, I'm only going by what some of these videos try to say. I'm not making that claim. I'm only asking the question, and I'm only sitting here trying to say, okay, well, if they are, what would make them the smartest? Now, people, understand something. I'm Tom. This is the Infj experience. Oh yeah, I forgot to say that earlier, people. There you go. So this is Tom. Listen, I'm a guy that didn't have a lot of education, not a lot of book smarts. Now, I didn't even really go to high school. I wasn't a good student. I dropped out of high school in about the 9th grade. I never quite made it to high school. I did go on to educate myself. I used to go to the library and I'd read books, many books as a kid, just things that it interested me, things that captivated me. And I knew at least one thing I could do was just work hard for a living and just maintain myself as far as like learn things that I knew were important to me. And that's the way I was geared. I think that was just the INFJ in me the whole time, just wanting to know things, wanted to consume information, wanted to understand the world, but also understand myself. Now, well, everything I've just presented to you is my own thinking. And this is how I see the world and how it was processed to me. So am I more intelligent than most people? No, I don't know that. I don't want to think that. I have my own level of intelligence. I don't think my type's going to make me more of a smart guy than other types. I don't measure myself that way. Now, all I know is that when something is presented to me, when there's a certain task, I know I think it over. And I know that I try to think about every aspect of the situation that I have. And that's why I concluded the way I did, because that's how my mind works. So I'm going by how it is I process things. That's all I can really base it on. Now, again, I mean, I'm not a highly educated guy. I think a lot of my experience was just working for a living, growing up pretty much in a tough neighborhood as a kid, things like that. Living on the streets a little bit as a kid. So I had a lot of street smarts and things like that. So I accumulated a different way of processing the world. But no, I think there's a certain level of intelligence that I got, but a lot of it just was just from the school of hard knocks, I guess you could say. Well, anyway, people, I'm rambling on too much about that. I just wanted to cover that. I just wanted to ask that question. Now, people, if you have any comments, if you have anything you'd like to put into that whole idea, let me know. Do you think the INFJ is the most intelligent of the MBTI type? And if you don't think so, let me know. Either way. And if you do think so, yeah, let me know your experience. Let me know what level of education you got, or lack thereof, but intelligence that you've attained. Okay? Well, anyway, people, I just thought that was an interesting question to ask, okay? Well, anyway, people, thank you so much for stopping by again. Again, this is the INFJ experience. This is our community. This is where we gather together to talk about this kind of things. And plus, I know another thing. You just probably like to hang out with this guy over here. You know, he's kind of cool. You know what I mean? Hey, that Tom guy, he's all right. You know, yeah, that's all. He's an old guy, but he's all right. You know. So anyway, people. So you kind of stopped by. Got to hang out with me again there. Well, I'm glad you came along because I like hanging out with you too. You know what I mean? Well, thank you so much. Well, people, please give me that thumbs up. Subscribe to this channel, okay? If you're new here, if you've never seen me before and you say, hey, that guy's all right, you know, subscribe to the channel, okay? And, of course, leave your comments down below, down there, you know, on the lower part. Leave them down there and let me know if you like what you see here. Let me know, all right? Well, thank you again, people, for stopping by. And until the next time, have yourself a wonderful rest of your day.